Just a word before we begin. Tonight's reading is from Leviticus 15, which discusses how men and women are to be cleansed from their bodily discharges. Of course, this is all perfectly natural, but if you have questions about what the chapter says, please ask a trusted adult to explain it to you. On any Bible Bedtime episode where the chapter has passages or readings that may be confusing to some people, I do always put a star or an asterisk in the show description. Hello and welcome to Bible Bedtime. I'm Dana and I'm your host. In each episode, I read a full chapter of the Bible, followed by a reading from the book of Proverbs, and ending the episode with the Lord's Prayer. Tonight is episode 150 of Bible Bedtime, and I will read Leviticus 15. After I read the chapter, I will read a passage from Proverbs, and I will finish the evening with the Lord's Prayer. Tonight's episode of Bible Bedtime is sponsored by Sharpshooter, a small business that specializes in helping nonprofit or non-governmental organizations prepare for and seek grant funding that supports their work. To learn more, you can visit sharpshooterok.com, and I'll put a link in the show description. As I was preparing for tonight's episode, I happened to look out the window and saw something beautiful. I am recording this at the end of my workday, and because it's winter, the sun is setting about that time now. My office window faces the east, so I don't see the sunset directly, but what I was able to see was the beautiful pink and gold light shining on the clouds that were facing the sun, and it struck me as incredibly beautiful. And if you can close your eyes and envision what that looks like, if that's something you've ever seen, or if you can imagine seeing it, the beauty of it. And what I saw in the clouds was not the sun, even though the sun is beautiful and warm and life-giving. But instead, what I saw was the beautiful reflection. It made me think about God and how God is warm and light and strong and life-giving, and we're not. But when we are facing the sun and we are facing God and turning our faces toward our Creator, we reflect that beauty, and it is divine. As I read tonight, I invite you to continue picturing those clouds in your mind's eye and remember that it is you reflecting God's beauty. Now it is our habit in each episode to take 3 deep breaths. This is a signal to your brain and your body. It's a habit that we are forging, and it helps your body and mind know that it is time for bed. So as we take these 3 breaths tonight, imagine that you are breathing in the beauty of the sun's reflection on the clouds that we described, and that it is warm and beautiful. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Nice. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when any man has a bodily discharge, the discharge is unclean. Whether it continues flowing from his body or is blocked, it will make him unclean. This is how his discharge will bring about uncleanness. Any bed the man with a discharge lies on will be unclean, and anything he sits on will be unclean. Anyone who touches his bed must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Whoever sits on anything that the man with a discharge sat on must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Whoever touches the man who has a discharge must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. If the man with the discharge spits on someone who is clean, that person must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Everything the man sits on when riding will be unclean, and whoever touches any of the things that were under him will be unclean till evening. Whoever picks up those things must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Anyone the man with a discharge touches without rinsing his hands with water must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. A clay pot that the man touches must be broken, and any wooden article is to be rinsed with water. When a man is cleansed from his discharge, he is to count off 7 days for his ceremonial cleansing. He must wash his clothes and bathe himself with fresh water, and he will be clean. On the 8th day, he must take 2 doves or 2 young pigeons and come before the Lord to the entrance to the tent of meeting and give them to the priest. The priest is to sacrifice them, the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. In this way, he will make atonement before the Lord for the man because of his discharge. When a man has an emission of semen, he must bathe his whole body with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Any clothing or leather that has semen on it must be washed with water, and it will be unclean till evening. When a man lies with a woman, and there is an emission of semen, both must bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. When a woman has her regular flow of blood, the impurity of her monthly period will last 7 days, and anyone who touches her will be unclean till evening. Anything she lies on during her period will be unclean, and anything she sits on will be unclean. Whoever touches her bed must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Whoever touches anything she sits on must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. Whether it is the bed or anything she was sitting on, when anyone touches it, he will be unclean till evening. If a man lies with her and her monthly flow touches him, he will be unclean for 7 days. Any bed he lies on will be unclean. When a woman has a discharge of blood for many days at a time, other than her monthly period, or has a discharge that continues beyond her period, she will be unclean as long as she has the discharge, just as in the days of her period. Any bed she lies on while her discharge continues will be unclean, as is her bed during her monthly period, and anything she sits on will be unclean as during her period. Whoever touches them will be unclean. He must wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he will be unclean till evening. When she is cleansed from her discharge, she must count off 7 days, and after that she will be ceremonially clean. On the 8th day, she must take 2 doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest is to sacrifice one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. In this way, he will make atonement for her before the Lord for the uncleanness of her discharge. You must keep the Israelites separate from things that make them unclean, so they will not die in their uncleanness. for defiling my dwelling place, which is among them. These are the regulations for a man with a discharge, for anyone made unclean by an emission of semen, for a woman in her monthly period, for a man or woman with a discharge, and for a man who lies with a woman who is ceremonially unclean. Tonight I will read Proverbs chapter 4, verses 20 through 27. My son, pay attention to what I say. Listen closely to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to a man's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Put away perversity from your mouth. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Make level paths for your feet, and take only ways that are firm. Do not swerve to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. To end Bible Bedtime tonight, I will read the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Amen. Now it is time for you to